Welcome to the Seattle Bird Podcast. I'm Francis. In this episode, I'll be talking about pigeons. The common pigeon, or rock doves, are one of the world's most misunderstood birds. Having brought to the Americas by Europeans, pigeons were originally pets for show and sport. They were bred to have many strange, fancy features and sold among the aristocracy. Even now, some people breed pigeons and keep them in dovecotes, pigeon nesting spaces, and they are occasionally sold for thousands or even $1.9 million, as a 2-year-old racing pigeon named New Kim was in 2020. It is thought that perhaps pigeons even were domesticated back in ancient Egypt due to ancient carvings that depict pigeons. Pigeons are some of the most genetically interesting birds in the world, for many reasons. Despite having very simple genetic traits, what we most commonly see as pigeons is not actually the dominant pigeon coloring. In pigeon feather coloring, the dominant allele is actually for red pigeons, a sort of russet, brick-like color. I speculate that this color was probably more helpful for camouflage when pigeons lived primarily in the wild. Now that rock doves live in cities, we mostly see what are called blue pigeons, even though they appear gray. This is likely helpful for blending in the city and staying away from their main predator, falcons. Even though this isn't the dominant allele, it is the allele that dominates the pigeon society that we see. And to other pigeons, that gray color isn't as boring as it seems. You see, pigeons can see ultraviolet and yellow light, on top of the 3 color ranges us humans can see: red, green, and blue. Pigeons' feathers reflect a shocking UV light, making them glow purple and blue to their own eyes, while to us they look simply gray and dull. But why do pigeons live in cities, anyways? When humans build cities, most animals flee from the cars and concrete. But to pigeons, today's skyscrapers look like their natural nesting grounds. High, rocky cliffs where they can nest on ledges. On top of that, the rock doves we see today are actually feral, creatures that were once domesticated before they returned to the wild, and therefore they are familiar with humans. One problem with the city is that they eat our food, and they really aren't picky eaters on top of that. While it has been very helpful for the population expansion of rock doves, it isn't the healthiest diet for them. Along with eating our garbage and discarded food, some people like to feed pigeons. Opinions on whether or not people should feed pigeons are split. Some people argue that it isn't good to feed wild animals, which is true. However, pigeons are feral, not wild. Another impact to consider is that when humans feed pigeons, the pigeons may spread diseases to each other. If you do decide to feed pigeons, the healthiest and tastiest foods for them are legumes and seeds. When feeding pigeons or even walking by them, you'll notice that pigeons often run away instead of fly. There are a few reasons for this. The first is that pigeons are walking, not hopping birds. If you examine their feet, you'll see long toes with thick pads, perfect for striding along the city. As they walk, they stick their neck out, freeze it in place, and then look around while their body catches up. This happens so fast that it simply causes what we see as a funny neck bobbing movement. On top of being perfectly equipped for walking, pigeons also don't really enjoy wasting their energy in takeoff. Pigeons have an amazing takeoff and acceleration, and are often studied by military engineers on account of it. They are able to go from standing to almost 90 degrees straight up, with what should be impossible acceleration. As you can guess, this takes a lot of energy. If they do this extreme takeoff too many times in a day, running away from humans or predators, pigeons may not end up eating enough food for the day and go to bed restless, which is why they prefer to elegantly step rather than launch away from their problems. Pigeons can have many interesting and strange traits, such as muffs, fluffy feet, and crests, which can look like mohawks. Pigeons can be 3 main colors: ash red, blue, and brown. There are also white pigeons, a recessive gene that makes the pigeon look like what we think of as the basic dove, as in the dove and olive branch look. Pigeons also have a variety of wing and tail patterns, though some can also be a solid color, a trait called spread. Many people breed pigeons to manipulate these genetics and create some pretty crazy breeds. English pouters look like the bird versions of bullfrogs with ridiculously puffed up chests. People also breed rock doves to be racing pigeons. Pigeons have what is called a homing radar, an internal compass that allows them to find their way home from anywhere on the globe, even if they are transported in dark boxes and constantly rotated. Scientists are still not quite sure how this works, but it is generally thought to be a combination of many things. This homing radar is what makes pigeon racing possible, as it allows pigeons to be moved to a different location, then released and timed as they fly back to their home. Tons of money is often bet on this sport, and pigeons are bred to be faster and faster. Unfortunately, the U.S. pigeon population has decreased significantly in recent-ish years. According to the Houston Audu blog, the U.S. rock pigeon population dropped 46% between 1966 and 2015. However, pigeons are still a booming population and continue to have plenty of children, which are called squabs. However, pigeon babies, squabs, are very strange looking, being blobs of gray skin with spiny yellow feathers peppered here and there. Pigeon courtship dances are also very entertaining, as they include the male pigeon strutting around with his chest puffed out and dragging his tail around the ground, making a variety of pigeon singing, which is called coos. Pigeons are actually doves, hence the more formal name for them, rock doves. They are part of the family Columbidae and are slightly related to dodos. Some of the more interesting birds in this family are the Victoria crowned pigeon, the spinifex pigeon, and the Nicobar pigeon, which is, shockingly, the closest living relative to the dodo, despite being flamboyant, rainbow, and small. There are many interesting species of dove out there. If you enjoyed this episode, I highly recommend Googling a few of them and admiring this adorable and silly family of birds. Our sources for this episode are A Pocket Guide to Pigeon Watching by Rosemary Moscow and Houston Audu blog. The theme song is by Felix. Leo edits the show. I'm Francis. Until next time.
The bird call was recorded by Andrea L. Priori and was made available by the Macaulay Library at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology.